Connect. Come on, connect. Connect. All right. There we go. Stream is on. Hi, guys. It's Uncle Dallas. Welcome to the Higher Standards International Training. We appreciate you for stopping by. We have our friends here at YouTube. We have friends at Instagram. We have our friends at TikTok. Everybody join us. Make sure if you get an opportunity to join us on the YouTube page where we are actually doing these things. And we're going to get into this a little deeper. We're going to get into this a little deeper and trying to help some of our people, because a lot of you are in relationships and you really don't know that you're not actually in a relationship. You're in a soul tie. And when you understand that, you understand that those things that are happening to you right now are actually duplicates of what a real relationship looks like. Because one of the things you have to realize when it comes to soul ties, you have to realize that soul ties sometimes mimic the same thing that happens. So when you start dealing with that, you realize that I have to figure out what's the difference between the real and not the real. Everybody that I'm teaching these whole things to, when it comes to your learning about spirituality, it's the key to that, because what happens is you are in a position where you are able to see something from a spiritual standpoint and not from a natural standpoint. So we have our computer here, we have monitors here. There's one more monitor that we're missing. We have monitors here, and today we're going to get deep. I want you really to understand this thing. This is the this is the teaching that will actually change your life. So when you go into this teaching, I want you to get away from everything. Don't let anything bother you. Don't let anything stop you. Don't let anything slow you down or try to put you in a position where you are being interrupted, because this could be something that would mean life or death for your movement. And I don't mean die. You'll actually die. But I do mean these things will be actually something that will help you to understand how to move the way you need to move and to protect yourself from those situations. So here we have this here. Everybody's up. And I'm going to start this from wow. Wow. I'm going to start this from the standpoint of a biblical foundation. Let's look at the situation. Now, one of the things you have to realize is you are a spiritual being. You just are. That's just the way that is. You are a spiritual being. And within that being of being spiritual, you understand that what you're living and what you're living about is based on either habits, inspiration from the spirit, or memories. That's how you're living. You're living that right now. So, for example, right now, your habits seem to defend you against going into the same direction that you've gone to in the last thing. So when you remember something, that thing says, okay, you remember last time you did that, this situation happened, or that time you did that, that situation happened. And so what you have to realize is when you are dealing with soul ties, they're not all bad. That's the key. They're not all bad. But what they can do is they can mimic something you desire, because it puts you in a position where you think, okay, this person loves me. Example: women that are in relationships. You've been in a relationship for 5 or 6 years. Let's not even go that far. Let's go to a situation where you've been with him for about 6 months. Okay, he takes you out. He's nice to you. He does all these different things for you. And what happens is you begin to let down your guard. Ladies, gentlemen, people. Guard is not let down until commitment is made. Now, however you determine that commitment to be made, guard is not let down until commitment is made. Okay? A lot of us get stuck in the commitment part of it because we want somebody in that position so desperately that we put ourselves in a position where we open ourselves up to duplicates of what we actually have. Now, some of you have already been married. You've been married. You're in connection. You've been in a relationship all your life, and so it doesn't. This is not really something that is you can do anything about, but you can begin to balance your life. You can begin to balance your life. I'm looking for my notes, guys. You can begin to balance your life. So Now, when you learn those things, you begin to operate at a different level. So, ladies, because you've been with a person for a long period of time doesn't mean that person is yours. Doesn't mean that person is in a relationship with you. It means that you're in the habit, they're in the habit, and now you have a soul tie. You're in the habit, they're in the habit, and now you have a soul tie. Why do you have a soul tie? You have a soul tie because your mind was open to something that you were lacking in your life. And so anybody that gave the correct combination of things, you will take that person and say, that's what I want in my life. So now you've allowed that person in your life. I hear women say all the time, I don't want to be lonely. I don't want to go to the movies by myself. I don't want to do all these things. There is something there you need to fix. I know you may not like that, but there is something there that needs to be fixed, which means there's a weakness in the soulish realm. That's your mind, your emotions, your intellect. There's a weakness there. And when there's a weakness there, what you find is you open yourself up for opportunities for that thing to be, what's the word I say, taken advantage of. There's nothing wrong with having an open place in your soul. Where the problem comes in is in the situation where you've not been spiritually led. And so what you do is you try to put yourself in a position where you are now letting anybody in there. I teach this class. Oops, I'm sorry, my mic is way over here. Okay, I teach this class, and in the class, I say the best way to bring somebody into this world, or the only way that you can come in through this world, is through the womb of a woman. And they say, well, there's frogs, there's ducks. We're not talking about animals, we're talking about people. God has designated a woman as the access to this level. You are designated, divinely connected. And I tell people all the time, I said, a woman is closer to God than a man is. And everybody says, no. See, you're trying to do competition. You're trying to be competitive. I'm not trying to be competitive. I'm trying to be rational and position wise, because that position gives you the understanding of your ability to have strength. So what happens is, and it's not that woman is the power because she has babies. It's because she is divinely connected to access from heaven. So that means that she is already woman's intuition, all these things. She's already empowered with those things. Now, what happens is, we have a community that wants to change the natural connection spiritually because of what we do, how we are sexually, how we look, how we act, how we talk, and how we dress. That has nothing to do with anything in this world. You are divinely connected to God on a deeper level. However, on the other side, a man is divinely connected to God by structure. That is why a man can live in the woods for years and years and years. Now, here's the interesting thing. Follow me, this is going to be deep. In order for you to operate in the other spiritual position, you have to alter who you are naturally in your mind. Your spirit doesn't change. You have to alter who you are in the mind. So that means that if God made you a man and your mind says, I want to do something that looks like a woman, you have to alter your mental capacities. You have to turn off that part that God deals with you as a man and attempt to turn on the part that deals with you as a woman. That becomes a vulnerability to your soul. So your soul is now vulnerable. What happens to you is all the things that vulnerability has given you begin to bombard your mind. Why? That was the whole purpose. If I can bombard your mind, I can control you. See, here's the thing that I don't think people want to understand. Because you dress like a man, act like a man, think like a man, and want to be a man, you're not a man. That does not make you a man. The spiritual part of who you are makes you a man. Because who those things that God points into, and let's not even say God, the universe, the spirit, all those things, they are not fluent. The reason they're not fluent is because there's a divine system on this planet. And that system creates opportunities for everything. So the opportunity for a child to get here, if we were fluent, meant that we had to come up with some scientific way to draw from both sides and produce. You follow me? Now, I'm not getting into that because everybody will think I'm trying to talk about the LBQT community. What I'm saying to you is this. When you alter the spiritual access to your body, you then leave your soul open to suggestions from other things. That is why we have soul ties. Now, the key to this is understanding that a sexual soul tie is one of the strongest. The reason that it's strongest is because divine connections, hear me, divine connections are stronger influences than just mental, physical, emotional connections. A divine connection, that means when you are universally, spiritually connecting to somebody, it's more influential than it is a natural connection. Now, those other connections are pretty strong. For example, your daughter or your mother tells you that you were an ugly child. You just were ugly. Because that is a parental person, a person that you've given your authority to or allow into your life. When they say that, it grinds into the deepest parts of your soul, and it is hard to shake because you trust their opinion or their thought. They're your parents. So when you get into your life, all of a sudden, anybody that agrees with what was said to you, they have power because that was a weakness in your soulish realm. It was a weakness to your soul. Soul ties. It was a weakness to your soul. So what happens is you now have to uproot that thing to even operate in a normal process. So what you've done is now you protect that position by trying to make yourself look beautiful in the external, not understanding that internally that was something that did not change you. You were not less beautiful. All you had done was a soul tie was attached to you. And because that soul tie was attached to you, now you are attached to that thing. So now you're following any man or any woman that makes you feel as beautiful as you think you are. You follow me? You follow this person because they make you feel beautiful. They make you feel what you're lacking. Why? Because if you got that out of there and said, I'm beautiful already, there's certain people you wouldn't give that type of attention to, and not even that type of attention, that type of access. Many of you have given soul access to people that simply fulfilled a lack in your mind or in your heart or in your body. And you go, you accepted me. Acceptance does not mean love. Acceptance means I allow you to be who you are without judgment. It doesn't mean I like you. It doesn't mean I dislike you. It just means I accept the fact that Uncle Dallas is 6'6", 285 pounds. I accept that. I don't have to like it. I don't have to dislike it. It's an acceptance. But if there's a lack in the soul, then what happens is that acceptance looks like love. In Corinthians, the first chapter, we're looking at a situation that's made a statement because everybody came through this writing of this spiritual place one way. The only person that did not come that way was Paul. Paul didn't come the way that everybody else does. So in this scripture, in the 15th chapter, in the 10th verse, it says, by grace, it's by the grace of God, I am what I am, and his grace is bestowed upon me was not in vain. But because I'm lacking, soul tie, because there's a lack in my life, because there's a lack in my spirit, but I labor more abundantly than them all. I labor more abundantly than them all. Not I, but yet the grace of God which is in me. He says, because of everybody else already going down this road, I labor in that point because there was an opening in Paul in his life. There's an opening in your life. And what you have to do is if you don't close that opening, people will come into your life, take advantage of you, and continually move out of your life. You follow me? People, why? Because what you have to realize is you're more powerful than your circumstances dictate. You are more, I say that again, you're more powerful than your circumstances dictate. And the key to that is understanding that within that power, there are people that try to take advantage of that power. So you have to deal with your soul ties. You have to, guys. You have to deal with them. So I'm going to give you a couple of ways to deal with the soul ties. Paul talks about one. There's one recorded in Philippians. And the one that is my favorite, and those of you that know, if you've ever listened to me, you know I'm going to Philippians because I like Philippians. I'm just a Philippian dude. Okay, there's Ephesians, Philippians. Okay, and it's the one that Paul talks about, or one that Philippian records, and the one that Philippian records is the 3rd chapter and the 7th verse. It says, "But that what things I consider gain, those I consider loss. Those things I consider gain. For what things I consider gain, I consider loss for the destination." For the destination. Hey, Portia, how you doing? That's my sister, guys. I consider those things lost for the destination. I consider them lost for the destination. Now, why do I consider them lost for the destination? I consider them lost for the destination because some of the things that I've attached my mind to, because see, we can do this as simple as mind. Some of the things you've attached your mind to, you've allowed them to create your reality. And those realities are not actually true realities. They're just alternatives to you not wanting to move in a certain area or do a certain thing. So your alternative becomes, I'm this person or I'm this person. You follow me? When you have the keys to understanding that you have to let go of soul ties. And if you don't let go of them, the first thing you have to realize is this. How do you do it? The first thing is I make myself to gain what moves me forward and not try to maintain what holds me here. Say that again. Gain, I go after what gain. I gain what moves me forward, not maintain what holds me here. Stop trying to maintain what holds you here. Why? Because it's comfortable. We want to be comfortable. Comfortable is not always a good thing. And so what happens is, because your mind is constantly growing, your spirit is constantly pouring information in, you're constantly moving forward, you stifle that movement because that soul tie, you're tied to fear, you're tied to hurt, you're tied to disappointment, you're tied to these things that hold you in this place, that maintain a place. But what you have to understand is there is a destination that if you begin to gather what's necessary to move you toward that destination, these things stop meaning anything to you. They stop being as important to you. Does that make sense? Okay. First thing you do is that stop letting things of your past hold you here. Use them as understanding. Use them as perspective. Use them as understanding and revelation, but do not let those things hold you. You are not ugly. Ugly is a judgment call. You're not fat. Fat is a health call. You're not dumb. Dumb is an education call. In all these things, you're not ugly because ugly is judgment. There's certain tribes that everything that's about you is liked in that different tribe. There's certain places in country. There's certain places that you are beautiful. So that's a judgment call, and people can't judge your beauty. You have to be the best that you can. You follow me? You cannot be dumb because dumb is just judged by how you are inundated with the educational system that makes you a slave to the labor pool. So you can't be dumb. You follow me? Well, no, because you're trying to let them say, because you don't know 1 and 1 is 2, that you are dumb. But dumb is not according to smarts. Dumb is according to obedience. Smart says, I know how to fix it. My grandfather started building a piece of wood, took a piece of wood and created his own bed on the back of his truck. Now, he may not have had an engineering degree because we're talking about my grandfather, my father's father. So he may not have an engineering degree, but he understood how to make things work by what he experienced. So they can't judge whether you're educated or not. Those things that you thought were gain, and this is the same thing. I thought because I put on a wig, because I shaved my head, because I did this, I darkened my beard. All these things are external things that are making you having to justify your position instead of going, I wear a beard if I want to. If I don't wear a beard, it's okay. I wear weave if I want to. If I don't wear weave, it's okay. He said, those things I considered gain. Because those things give you the feeling that you are valid in a system that's not designed for you to move forward. It's a system that's designed to hold you there. So when you're after men and you're trying to make yourself look sexier so men will be attracted to you, honey, there's a challenge there. You got to work on that. Now, if you are a model and you're doing model things, that's cool. But if you're using that to gain men and gain attention, then you're not doing you're not utilizing the level of power that you have. Because you are showing yourself and people begin to appreciate you, something is wrong. You can't hear me, guys? Can you hear me now? Try to go to YouTube. Something wrong with that phone, probably. So when you have to go to that situation like that, you find yourself in a position where you're operating at a place that is less than who you are. You find yourself operating at a place that's less than who you are. Let me see that. Let me check some out. Okay, got it. We got sound. Guys, if you can, just go to YouTube. Go to the YouTube link and you can hear everything that you need to hear. Okay, so you go to that place. Now, what does that do? So the first thing you do is you realize that, listen, I can't let these things determine me because they weaken my soul and they make me vulnerable to attachments. They make me vulnerable to attachment. So that's the first thing. Paul said those things. He said, the first thing you had to do, Paul said, listen, stop trying to think what you're gaining is giving you this edge or making you above. Right now, we're in the click world. We're in the click. The more clicks I get, the more famous I am. One of my broadcasts went to 7 million people. They said, well, you're internet or you're TikTok famous. I don't know what TikTok famous means. My next one had 300,000 followers. So you're TikTok famous. That meant the algorithm says I'm somebody. But if I'm after TikTok famous, that means my soul is open to suggestion. You follow me? It's open to suggestion. Now, it's okay to give me suggestion if that's moving me forward. It's okay to take suggestion if it is not deteriorating who I am. But to take suggestion like, oh, I want to be on TikTok, or I want to make a lot of money, or I want to do all those things make you vulnerable to what's going on. It happens in our relationships. Our wives, our husbands, these things make us vulnerable because they address our weakness. Most of the time, you are with a person, and the reason you don't leave the person is because you don't think anybody else is going to want you, anybody else is around you. They have so convinced you that you are less than who you are, that you find yourself in a position where you're now trying to adjust yourself to be what they said you should be, to be what they think you want. Got it. So the first thing is stop considering yourself gained. Now, the second thing is written in the book of Corinthians, the second book of Corinthians. The second book of Corinthians, starting at the 4th verse, it says, the weapons of your warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God through the pulling down of strongholds. First thing is, stop thinking these things are important to your destination. And if they are, you hold on to them. If they're not, if people are not important to your destination, if situations are not important to your destination, if they're not, then what you do is you keep moving or move on beyond them. So the second one says the weapons of your warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God through the pulling down of strongholds. Second thing, get rid of unforgiveness, get rid of anger, get rid of blame, get rid of guilt, tear those things down. They are not real. They are simply attempts to keep you under the control of your environment. They are simply there to keep you under control of your environment. I don't care if it's COVID, the new one, the one that's coming after that. All those things are in place to keep you controlled by your environment. Why? Number one, they give you instructions on what to do with COVID. If you believe COVID is real, I just had a friend of mine die from COVID. If you believe it's COVID real, you simply do what's necessary to operate at the level of COVID. But it does not stop you. Let go of pain. Let go of unforgiveness. Let go of guilt. Those are strongholds. Those things control you. You will find a lot, and this has happened with a lot of people I dealt with. You will find people that will remind you of devastating things to keep you from moving forward. Right now, I call I call my sister Portia up and I say, "Hey Portia, I need $1,000." And Portia go, "You remember when we were little and you took my tire off my car?" Why? Because she wants to victimize me and keep me under control. Guilt is a main one. There is no such thing, people. Stop letting guilt get you. If you forgive and you let go, keep it moving. If they can't let it go, that has nothing to do with you. Because if you are truly forgiving, then that forgiveness is already set. Now, your mind may not forget it. I'm doing a book right now called The Steps to Forgiveness. That book will revolutionize what you see about forgiveness. So, in that process of it, what you have to understand is guilt is not a thing. Even in the Bible, it says when you ask for forgiveness, you're forgiven. It doesn't say do 7 Hail Marys and do any of those things. You're forgiven. So that guilt is not a big thing. Fear, not a thing. I know John says God has not given us a spirit of fear, and fear is false evidence of fear. Fear is not a thing. It's another way to make your soul vulnerable and to put you under control of something. You're right? You follow me? Let me really mess your world up. Those connections you have to your people that are hanging around you, those friendships are not real. They're not your reality. A true friend sticketh closer than a brother. That's a principle. So people that are just hanging around you because you have things, I'm walking prophetic, that's not real. It's not the reality of your life. What it is an attempt to design a prison for you to keep you stuck in prison. You can forgive. So it says every stronghold, listen, y'all ready? That was number 3. Number 4, every thought that goes through your mind is not your reality. Every thought that goes through your mind is not your reality. It's the reality of the circumstance and situation that is happening at that moment. It is not your reality. If you grab it and you assign it to your mind, or you pull it in and you conceive it, it then becomes an alternate route to your reality. It's not your reality. Right now, if I tell everybody I want you to imagine a pink elephant with red horns, in your mind, you've imagined a pink elephant with red horns. It's not your reality. When you begin to believe that, see, there are 2 things that you have when it comes to a spiritual concept. There's faith and belief. There's faith and belief. See, I'm teaching you how to get these soul ties out of your mind. Faith is the existence of a thing and you accept that existence. Belief is you believe the power of that existence. For example, I believe that this, and I haven't touched it, this mic exists. I have the evidence and I have the substance, I have the evidence. That's what faith is. It said that mic is true. So because I believe that mic is true, my belief system says when I speak into it, it will do what this true evidence and substance says that it will do. See, a lot of you saying, I have faith, but you really don't have faith, because faith becomes the reality of that thing that you have faith for. The belief means you put it into action. So when you understand that, you understand that you have given reality to stuff that does not, number 1, is not reality. Number 2, does not do anything to move you forward. And what you've done is you've opened yourself up to a soul tie. Because if it is not your reality, you now have to change your mindset so that you can now connect to it at the level that you want to get benefit from it. Y'all follow me? You are connected to something at the level that you want to get benefit from it, because it's not reality. So you have to do everything to make it reality. You have to present substance. You have to present evidence. You have to present conclusions. When it's not, all this stuff pulls you away from where you should be moving and how you should be moving. You got it? So it says, casting out imagination and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God. Those things are not your reality. Now, first thing is, Second thing is, third thing. The third thing is build yourself up on the power of your spirit. Build yourself up on the power of your spirit. Now, what does that mean? Learn prayer. Learn to meditate. Learn to do things. See, a lot of us will go in the room and pray. Learn consistency in prayer. Learn consistency in prayer. Learn the power of prayer. A lot of us get caught up in this thing because we're so stuck with religion and so stuck with church that we've never become who we're supposed to be. So our prayer, I did my mentoring class last night, and people said, well, how do I pray? You don't pray like anything. It's like walking in, and so how do I ask for a cookie? How do I drive? You got some people that drive with their leg up on with their leg up in the air and driving like that. We got some people that drive leaning like this. Everybody drives according to what they're doing and what's comfortable for them. So when it comes to prayer, it's the same way. If you want to protect the vulnerabilities of your soulish realm, your soul, you need to understand prayer because it ignites a power of God in your life. It brings discerning power. It brings it brings applied power. It brings a number of different things that give you the ability to overcome soul ties. When you understand that, you understand that prayer is the power. Now, if you are going to pray, number one, get everything else out of your way. Every influence, every mindset, every thought process, move all those things out of your way. Why? Because looking at moving those things out of your way puts you in a position where you now can operate at a level that is spiritual. I'm watching people and they say, well, if I get discerned, if I'm spiritually discerned, I don't get tricked. I agree to a certain degree. See, when you get to the point that you are spiritually discerned enough that you can see things at a point of the perspective and reason why they're there, your soul is not there. Here's why I'm saying this, guys. Spirituality is not the ability to go to church. It is not identifying with a religious organization. It is not the ability to make sure everybody likes you or doesn't like you. Spirituality is not about church. It's about you being in the authentic place that you are designed to be in. Empress, please email me. Empress, please DM me. I got a question for you. It's about being in the ultimate place. See, here's the thing. We want to go. I got Jesus on my mind. I got you. I'm cool. But when you begin to try to identify with something that isolates you and reduces you to a point where you're not living the most powerful, authentic place that God, the universe, the spirit that's in your spirit, then you are limiting yourself to what people say about you, to what your environment dictates about you, to what it feels, what it sounds like, and all those things. I don't doubt you feel certain things. I don't doubt you hear certain things. But what I want you to understand is that they don't have to attach to your soul. You are more powerful than those things. They don't have to attach to your environment. You're more powerful than that environment. They don't have to attach to your reality. Everything that we have learned, we have been inundated with those things. Everything that has happened to us, we've been given that stuff and said, these are your choices. That's not a choice, honey. That's an option. You either have black or white. Those are options. Choices means that not only do I not want black and white, I can have chartreuse. I can create a color because I have a choice. What happens right now is things are there to attach to your soul. Why? They cannot change your spirit. They cannot change your spirit. Empress, call me. Okay. They cannot change your spirit. Go to YouTube, guys. Go to YouTube. They cannot change your spirit. So what happens is if I can't change the source of power, I dilute the power. Listen. My wife and I got married, love at first sight. the key that what happened is we have to start uprooting the things that were in our lives that caused us to be separated. And one of those things we had to uproot is how we felt about relationships, because all we saw was stuff on television. So we had romanticized relationships. She's going to walk down in her pretty robe. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And all these different things that we do, we find ourselves in a position where we are now fantasizing on something that had absolutely nothing to do with our reality. Why? You're tied to the soul. So now television, giving you a soul attachment. Radio, soul attachment. Church, soul attachment. Religion, soul attachment. Now, is that because you're dumb? Is that because you're weak? No, it's because you don't know how powerful you are spiritually. It is amazing to me that I've watched hundreds and thousands of churches on television over the years. We're talking over 30 years. Nobody talks about just divine connection to God. We talk about divine connection because there's a Jesus. We talk about divine connection because you pay your tithes. We talk about divine connection because you're part of our organization. We talk divine connection because you hang in our fellowship. But nobody says if you are in the woods and there's nobody around but you, God can reach you. So we live an obvious soul-tied religion that believes that unless I'm around certain people, God can't bless me. Unless I'm in certain situations, God can't bless me. Are you following me? I don't know what to do with y'all. I don't know what to do, guys. I don't know. I don't know what to do. Unless you follow those types of things. So now when you hear this, you start going, okay, how do I move forward? Cast down imaginations. Number one. Number two, stop thinking these things are valuable to you. They're not. Number three, once you realize that you are more powerful than these things, you have to put yourself in a position where your power is prevalent. I don't care if you have been with that man for 15 years. If the reality of him is pulling you down, telling how terrible you are, then that's not the person for you. There is no endurance when it comes to relationships. Unless there's commitment, you don't have to endure mess. But your mind is tied to how beautiful he is. He has beautiful long dreadlocks. He has a wonderful beard. He has all these things that you consider to be things that you want in your life. So you tie yourself to those things. Let me tell you what you tie yourself to. You tie yourself to somebody that has a purpose. Not somebody that has an idea, not somebody that has a job, not somebody that has a desire, not somebody that thinks they can do something. You attach yourself to somebody that has a purpose. Every lady, every man has a purpose. That's the number one thing. Number two, you attach your life to something that is moving up above where you are. When you want to go to a different level, understand that the new levels are by invitation only. They are invitation only. And because they're invitation only, what they tend to do is when you get invited, they're going to attack the things that make you feel like you can't do it. Why? Because you have to get to a point of understanding that you are more powerful. So in order to show you power, I got to give you conflict. In order to see power, you have to have conflict. In order to see power, so when there's conflict, you can't go, oh my God, this is attacking me. Oh my God, this is hurting me. We've given this thing like, oh my God, the devil is attacking. Okay, fine, we'll call it the devil. But are you talking about a devil that's stronger than who you are? Are you talking about something that makes you show off how strong you actually are? Because I can lift 500 pounds doesn't make me powerful. It just makes me strong. But because I can change the atmosphere, it makes me powerful. You guys are powerful. And when you understand your powerfulness, you'll understand that nothing that comes towards you, your spirit attracts. And it attracts for two reasons. It attracts for you to overcome, and it attracts because you're more powerful than that thing. It doesn't attract to bring you down. Your spirit does not attract anything that can bring you down, because your spirit is monitored by your ability and the strength that you carry. So if something comes to you, your spirit knows you're strong enough to handle it. Your mind may not know. Nothing that's happened to you is it above your ability to handle it. There's a passage that said he won't put more on than you can bear. There's a scripture that says, no, there's no temptation that is taking you in Corinthians, but such as common unto man. But God is faithful not to suffer you to be tempted more than you ought, but with the temptation, make a way of escape. What you have to understand, my friends, what you have to understand, that Uncle Dallas is not trying to put you in a position where it endangers who you are spiritually. He's putting you in a position where you've lived under your privileges for so long that you believe that you live under your privileges. It's like living under a bridge and covering the wall. You can't see left or right. Your reality is under the bridge until somebody puts you under a different bridge. And then you think that your reality is from bridge to bridge. Until somebody puts you in a house, then you think your reality is from house to house. Then somebody takes you and puts you on the moon and you look down at the earth and go, wait a minute, my reality is universal. My reality is the ability to take what I see, what I understand, and what I conceive and create life to it. And create life with it. Stop being tied to your soul. Stop letting your mind dictate what you should and should not do. Get into a spiritual place. And that spiritual place is not because of how you lie, how you don't lie, who you like and who you don't like. The spiritual place is universal. That means it can access anything that it wants to access at any time. Somebody asked me, do I burn sage? I don't burn sage, but you can burn sage. But you have to understand one thing. Your foundation has to be spiritual, which means whatever your spirit releases for you to do, you can do. You can do a glass of wine. You can do steak. You can do pork. You can do whatever you want, because your spirit is never going to put you in a position of danger. Your spirit will always put you in a position of power. But if you take your position of power and use it as a way to get your soul packed or satisfy your flesh, you're always going to fall. I told a friend of mine, I said, everybody I know right now that's a part of my mentoring course, I told them, hey, you don't have to worry about taking care of paying for the mentoring course. Pray and see what God says. They said, why do you say that? Because I want to see if you're really about this game. Or are you just trying to get free information so you can get there? Because most of us will look at our lack and let our lack define us. When you let your lack define you, you are really being conditioned for a soul tie. When you let your lack define you, you now have a price tag. They can put a price on you. When you let your lack define you, you are now putting yourself in a position where you can be tied to something that seems to satisfy that position, but actually doesn't satisfy that position. What it actually does is make you vulnerable to suggestions that stop you from your destination. Relationship 101. Sweetie, stop being after money. Bruh, stop being after big butts, big breasts. Stop being after that. Find somebody that has character. Find a woman that has character. Find a man that has purpose. Say that again. Find a woman that has character. Find a man that has purpose. Now, everybody that can type, I want you to type this into your chat. I'm more powerful than this situation. I'm more powerful than this situation. You can say this thing if you can't spell situation. I'm more powerful than this thing. I'm more powerful than this situation. And when you start realizing that, you might have to write that every day on a piece of paper. You might have to write that every single solitary day on a piece of paper. I'm more powerful than this situation. When you pray, I'm more powerful than this situation. I'm more powerful than this circumstance. And when you begin to pray, you will begin to see yourself. See, our challenge, and even mine, our challenge is we live right here. And because we live right here, we maintain the ability to stay right here. When in actuality, we live up here. But because we don't know very many people that live up there, we stay down here so we'll be amongst everybody and we can satisfy those things that are a part of our mind and our soul. Get to who you really are. Why? Because what you're going to realize that there are more people up there than there are people down here. There are more people that have been enlightened and that operate in the spirit than you think. When I say, do you want to take my mentoring course? Do you want to take my mentoring class? I have 75 people coming to mentoring class. About 35, maybe 40 show up. But everybody has a challenge. Last night's mentoring class, I actually allowed myself to prophesy to people. I actually allowed the gift to come forth so that I can actually minister to people's lives. They'll tell you. They'll tell you, man, he said, you read me like a book. Why? Because the goal is not for me to go in and go, hey, I'm Prophet Dallas, you want to profit? Because I'm not. I'm a child of God that is spiritually enlightened, and I understand the spirit. So that means that the things that I do, he'll do through you. Because I can't tie my soul to Prophet Dallas, Pastor Dallas, Evangelist Dallas, Church of God in Christ, marriage, single. When you start categorizing yourself, you put yourself in a position where you are now vulnerable to something that'll tie you to that thing. You're a terrible single. You're a terrible married. You're a terrible marriage. You're a terrible that. I don't subscribe to that stuff. What I subscribe to is the ability to do everything in my power to be the best me I can possibly be, and my wife will benefit from the best me. All right? Okay. Now, that's the third part of soul ties. I don't know if we're going to do a fourth part of soul ties. What I want you guys to understand is work on those things. Make a list. Here's your list. Make a list of the things that seem to be your challenges, the things that are stopping you. And I mean, it can be anything from fear to confusion to I don't know where to go. Make a list of those things that will move you forward. Make a list of those things that are hindering you from moving forward. That are hindering you from moving forward. And then what I need you to do is begin to break those things down in such a way that those things won't be a problem. That's number one. Number two, every day. If you were part of my mentoring class for the next 7 days, every day, I'm more powerful than this situation. Pray it, say it, confess it, talk it. Why? You're not making an affirmation. You're telling a truth. So your mind knows it's the truth. Don't try to say, this is my affirmation. No affirmation. Don't even use that word. Don't give your mind the opportunity to think it's anything other than the truth. I'm more powerful than this. And then walk in it. Because you have to bring confirmation to your mind. You want to beat soul ties? Make a comment and walk according to it. Make a situation, walk according to you. I told those people, I twisted my knee walking down the stairs, and I said, knee, stop hurting. It didn't hurt. And I started walking. I didn't go, whoa, oh, no, I started walking. The first time I did it, my knee kept hurting until I looked up one day and my knee wasn't hurting anymore. When you speak a truth, the difference in an affirmation and a truth is an affirmation is something you hope to happen. A truth is something you walk in because it already happened. An affirmation is something you hope to happen. I don't do affirmations. You have to continue to say it. A truth, all you have to do is say it and walk in it. I'm wealthy. Walk. What do wealthy people do? Wealthy people don't spend money. What wealthy people do is they influence. They leverage. That's a wealthy person. So that means you don't have to have a dime in your name. You can leverage and influence. So I'm wealthy and I walk in wealthiness. I'm healed. I walk in healing. I told my wife, I said, if your knee hurts, say your knee is healed and start walking. Just start walking in the knee. It's going, stop. Don't pay attention to the external, because the external is trying to tie you to this reality. This is not your reality. This is not your reality. You can write two things. Number one, I'm more stronger than this situation. And number two, this is not my reality. This is not my reality. And when you do those two things, you begin to change your mindset. Now, again, my name is William Dallas. On every Tuesday at 8 o'clock, we have a mentoring class. If you're interested in the mentoring class and you're on YouTube, go down to the bottom and just say, I need information for the mentoring class. It is free. Again, my only belief is that when God lays it on your heart, pray about it and you do what he tells you to do. Why? That way, when he does it, when you do it, he'll do it. That's number one. Number two, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like. We're going for 10,000 followers by the end of next year, or by the end of this year. And so we're moving in that direction. So like and follow. Number three, tell somebody about it. You know there are people that need this information. You know, friends, girlfriends, boyfriends, cousins, dogs, rat, poop, poo-poo, ray, foot, na, sha, all of them. Make sure that they get this information. It is information that is essential. This is the third installment of Soul Ties. I've already done one. I've done two. This is number three. I don't know if God leads me to go to number 4 or not. But if you listen to these 3 videos, it'll transform your life. I promise you. It'll transform your life. It'll transform you from religion to relationship, from relationship to spirituality. I promise it will. And the final thing is, I appreciate you very much. And I thank God for you. Make sure you like this video. And God bless you. I will see you on, what's today? Today is Wednesday. I'll see you on Friday. If you're on TikTok or Instagram, we do something pretty much every day on TikTok or Instagram as so led. So go to those things. But make sure you follow us on all social media. But concentrate on the YouTube and listen to this again. Listen to this again. Take notes so it'll get into your spirit. Remember, revelation is not just what you hear. Revelation is what you hear and what you act on. And I am William Dallas. This is Higher Standards. And welcome